Hello everybody, it's Philly Kuts with another comic book haul, number 68, the Hump Day Haul. You know, where every week I get together with you, a no big whoop, and talk about the stack of comic books I've brought home from the shop. This week, I got about 6 books. Not too much, kind of a light week for me, and I appreciate that, to be honest. Kind of gives me time to catch up. I hope everybody out there had a good holiday. I hope you guys got lots of books, got everything that you wanted, got people that you love, stuff that they wanted. But let's get going here. Starting out, as always, with DC. I got the Superman Annual, number 3, titled Savage Dawn. And this basically gives a full origin story of Vandal Savage. Now, Vandal Savage has been making the rounds in Superman books as of late. Superman, number 47, kind of teased the connection that he has to Hoarder Root. In fact, spoiler alert, Hoarder Root is Vandal Savage's son. Yeah, believe it or not. Also, if you've been reading the Batman Superman comic, there's been a very, very lengthy story arc involving Vandal Savage, and that was really my first introduction to the character. I never knew much about Vandal Savage before, so I'm looking forward to the origin story here. Apparently, it starts out 50,000 years ago. There was an asteroid that was destined to destroy Krypton. The course of that asteroid gets deflected, lands on France back in, like, prehistoric times, like I said, 50,000 years ago, and Vandal Savage acquires the power from this asteroid. So, lo and behold, whoever would have thought that Vandal Savage has a strong connection to Krypton? It goes through all of history, like it shows Vandal Savage in China in 121 AD. It even shows him in ancient Rome, I believe. Yep, Rome, 1543 AD. And then even connections to 1941 Nazi Germany, it looks like. If I can find the page, it actually shows Vandal Savage. Yeah. Hanging out with some Nazi dudes. And if you're reading the Batman Superman comic, you know that there's a super weapon that's involved in that and has Nazi ties. So the other part of the story is dealing with Superman and how he's dealing psychologically with being, depowered. It's been kind of an ongoing theme now for the past year that Superman has been severely depowered. And how is he dealing with that, man? I mean, it's having quite an effect on him. I was a little pissed off at the last page of this issue because it looked like that Vandal Savage and Superman are headed for a showdown. And then it says to me, oh my god, continued in Action Comics number 48. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't buy Action Comics. Here's DC at it again, cross-pollinating, crossover city with these stories. I encountered this most recently in Detective Comics. The last issue of Detective Comics started out with the Robin Wars in Part 3, which really pissed me off. And I'm not going to get involved with the Robin Wars. I'm just going to keep it at my Detective Comics. But, I'm really enjoying the Vandal Savage story, especially in Superman Batman, or Batman Superman. So I don't know. I'm just torn, man. I'm just torn. And I'm kind of like going through all these justifications in my head. Well, maybe I should start to buy it because, Arkham Knight has just ended, and that kind of frees up a slot in my pull, and I could start buying Action Comics, but then I'm like buying a shit ton of Superman comics now. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I kind of feel that annuals should be kind of like a one-shot deal, or a collection of maybe short stories that aren't really tied into any other current issues. You know, as much as I rail and rip on Marvel comics, you know, I always rip on Marvel about the quality of the paper, you know, the price of their books, their graphic novels. The one place where they did get it right for me is with the Star Wars annuals. Both Star Wars and Darth Vader were kind of these one-shot, self-contained stories, and they did it right. I just feel that that's a good place to have one-shot stories. You know, it's a larger issue. You could kind of get a lot more in there. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? You know, what do you guys think the annual should be like? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm really interested. Okay, and then my other title from DC was the Omega Men #7. Tom King continues to craft an excellent story here. It deals with religion. It deals with heavy politics. It pretty much follows this simple 9-panel layout, kind of like a big grid. There's no like overlapping or overlay to the panels, really. I mean, it's kind of just like this. But the advantage of that is that you can get a super amount of text in here, which is great. And that's the one thing that I'm loving about this book, is that you definitely get your money's worth. It's very dense. It deserves rereads right away. I mean, you kind of have to read through it twice to really pick up on everything that Tom is exploring with religion and politics. The great thing about this issue is that it goes into detail what the purpose the Omega Men have with Kyle Rayner. If you've been following this story, you know that the Omega Men kidnapped Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern. There he is with Lady Callista. So Kyle Rayner is now hooking up with Lady Callista. She's been kind of making the rounds with some of the Omega Men. Kyle Rayner had a bomb implanted into his throat. Well, it turns out that that wasn't a bomb. It was a tracking device. So this issue is going to reveal why that occurred and what purpose the Omega Men have with Kyle Rayner. So I'm really looking forward to that. The artwork of Badenga, if I said his name right, Barnaby Badenga, is tremendous. I love his artwork. And each issue, you know, we're introduced to new beings of creatures, new character designs. It's great. It reminds me so much of, you know, like a Green Lantern story where there's just so much to pull upon. It's great. And I hope that they do continue this beyond the 12 issues that it's slated for. Okay, I got one Marvel title this week. Chewbacca. Chewbacca concludes in this 5-issue miniseries, and that seems to be the format for a lot of the Star Wars books. This has been a pretty much straightforward story. It doesn't really, up until now, have added too much to the Star Wars lore and universe. I'm going to tell you in a minute why this issue kind of changes that. Basically, pretty straightforward. Chewbacca crash lands on this girl Zorro's planet, this young teenage girl there, who kind of looks a bit androgynous, if you ask me, but that's cool. Crash lands on her planet. It turns out that there's this evil person there, this guy named Dwam, who has kind of enslaved the people of this planet, including Zorro's father. He's forcing them to work down into the mines of this planet and to extract some ore for the Empire. The Empire is nefariously behind all this, and Dwam has run into trouble, you know, because as we all know, dealing with the Empire can be tricky business. You know, they kind of double-cross you, they backstab you. So running into problems there. But in this issue, a major question that has plagued the Star Wars universe and Chewbacca for 40 years is delved into and answered. And that is, why, at the end of Star Wars A New Hope, was Chewbacca not given a medal for blowing up the Death Star, right? If you remember that scene in the end on, Yaris 4, or whatever the hell that name of that planet is. I don't know, I think I just named a Toyota car. At the end of that movie, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo were given medals by Princess Leia. But Chewbacca was not given a medal. Now, this caused George Lucas over the years to say in interviews that, oh yeah, Chewbacca was given a medal, but it was, done off camera, obviously. Wookiees don't like medals. It kind of clashes with his accessories that he wears. Well, this issue is going to tell you what the deal is with that. I'm not going to spoil it any further. So, hey, if you ever were wondering, why didn't Chewbacca get that medal? It's right here. I'm asking, too, though, why did Wedge Antilles never get a medal? He made it all the way through that battle, blowing up the Death Star. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, man. That's, an interesting question to explore. Okay, Rumble, number 10. The Adventures of Rathrak continue. This is the final issue of the second story arc. It's promising that a major character in this book gets killed. Rathrak is pretty badass. I love the artwork of James Herron. This has a great cartoon look. Rathrak is a killer scarecrow whose body is kept in another place, in another universe, and his soul is inhabited by this scarecrow. I mean, this is just a straight-up great book. It's a lot of fun, lots of hack and slash, lots of gore, lots of violence. You kind of have these two human characters who are kind of like these fuck-ups who kind of get thrown into this story with Rathrak, kind of go along for the ride. But they're starting to come into their own here. There's one of them there wielding a sledgehammer. These little guys up here are actually half human. They're these new creatures that were introduced a couple issues ago. Rathrak has some issues with those little dudes. But the comic has just really grown on me, and I'm going to stick with this as long as I can. It definitely has like a BPRD Hellboy influence, of course, because, you have it's written by John Arcudi. As I said before, James Herron, Dave Stewart doing the coloring. Just a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. There's a beheading there. So I recommend you check it out, man. Especially if you're into like BPRD, stuff like that. You can't go wrong. Number 10. Okay, a one-shot. Lobster Johnson. And this is the second one-shot that I've gotten for Lobster Johnson. Again, scripted, Mike Mignola, John Arcudi, and a new artist in here, Tony Fajula. And the first thing you're going to notice in this, if you buy a lot of, BPRD Universe books, you're going to notice that the coloring's a lot different because Dave Stewart does not do the colors. It's by this Tony guy. And it definitely gives it a totally different feel. I like it. It's kind of like, gives it like a noir kind of look. And it just really shows you how big of an influence that Dave Stewart has on these, BPRD Hellboy books. I mean, it's just incredible how much the coloring can really change the atmosphere of a book. I just think colorists are so underrated. But I'm definitely liking this different feel. This is basically takes place in 1935 at the Met Museum in New York. There's this glass blower from Turkey who has made the Glass Mantis. It has a connection to the occult. Lobster Johnson has been tasked by the FBI to protect this Turkish glass blower from any kind of assassination attempts. And it seems like it's a hot adventure. As hot as this fucking skull in the stove, baby. And there are some assassination attempts on this guy's life. But Lobster Johnson, the power of the claw, fully experienced in this one-shot. There was a great one-shot story of Lobster Johnson over the summer. It was kind of like a Christmas in July kind of book that I really enjoyed. Ooh, man, coughing there. Okay, and then finally, Colder, Colder tossed the bones. Eisner Award-winning writer Paul Tobin and one of my favorite artists, Juan Ferreira. Nimblejack, the evil antagonist, continues his psychological torture on Declan and his girlfriend Reese. And really what this story is coming down to is how much will a couple stick together to get through the hard times, the challenges of a relationship. What are you willing to do to stick by your significant other? What are you willing to do when a man can put his hand down your throat and pull out a telephone? But that's the wacky kind of stuff that's coming out of the head of Juan Ferreira and Paul Tobin. I mean, it's just a bizarre, bizarre book, and I love it. I love the gore factor. I just love the artwork of Juan Ferreira. You know, I still kind of can't get over that, you know, Nimblejack is very much like a Joker ripoff. I mean, he just looks so much like a version of Joker that it is kind of hard to overlook. And the guy's just like completely manic and loony, and it's just hard to get past that. But I just love the stuff that they do in this book. It's all crazy kind of pictures, and you just never know what's going to happen next. There he is force-feeding this woman pills. It turns out that Declan and Nimblejack aren't really going to, you know, blow fists with one another, but it's kind of like a psychological torture on one another, and they kind of have to outwit each other. And that's what I'm enjoying. It's just a book that is a lot of fun, and I can't express enough to you how much I love the artwork of Juan Ferreira. I just feel the faces and the expressions that he makes, especially with the female characters, are just, you know, pretty mesmerizing. And I just enjoy it, and I can't get enough of it. So I'm really glad that I've gotten into this series. And next issue it concludes, and it looks like that it's headed for a complete and utter showdown between Declan and Nimblejack. All right, guys, really, really short haul this week. You know, off week, man. What can I say? Got to catch up. Got to read the books. Let me know what you guys got in the comment section below. Let me pick the cover of the week. Which, like I said, every week this is getting harder and harder because these covers, I don't know, for some reason in my books as of late, the covers are just not that great. God, I don't even know if I can pick one this week. Alright, I guess I'm going to go with Colder, man. Maybe hard to tell, but if you kind of look in this picture, it's kind of like Sergio Agrone's, man, and you see little things here and there. My camera doesn't know justice, but it's a picture you can look at for more than 10 seconds, which is what I say I never do, but I do. All right, guys, thanks for watching the haul. Peace. Have a happy new year. Bye, guys. Bye.